Well, Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panlo TV. This is a very cold, chilly Sunday morning here in Oxford. If you're watching this, you probably haven't seen the Mark Devlin tour, which I filmed last night. It was freezing cold last night. That will be uploaded shortly, probably after this one. But yeah, I'm off to London again on another adventure. Walking across South Park in Oxford towards the bus stop to catch the coach. So yeah, I'm basically going to. This is something Boudica related. Now, I'm not going to put a Boudica moment anywhere into this particular video, because really this entire video is going to be one long Boudica moment. So like I did another one of those. You remember that film that I reviewed? So that's where I'm heading now, and you'll soon find out what it is when we get there. Look at this. Church Gap. There's literally a whole chunk of the landscape is torn out just for the convenience of we people, so we can build this big motorway through it and get to London like 10 minutes quicker than we would have done otherwise. So that's what happens when you give the Illuminati an island to play with and 2,000 years in which to do so. The story of which you're familiar with, the Boudica Rebellion, is all the more poignant today because we can see its long-term effects on our country and the world beyond. Well, welcome everyone, welcome to Belsize Park here in Camden, London. I decided not to record my little journey on the tube train from Victoria. I've done that so many times before, I think I might be jumping the shark a bit. So I left it. Anyway, it's suffice to say, London is probably a city best visited on a Sunday. Although half the tube's not working because of engineering works, it's still much quieter. I managed to sit down for most of my journey, a half-hour journey from Victoria. Now I'm here in this near Belsize Park underground station. Now, interesting little thing which you Apollo believers might find amusing is that the headquarters of Owlis is somewhere near here. I'm not sure exactly where, but it's somewhere in this area. I don't know, I've never been there, believe it or not. So now I've got a map, luckily. I can use my phone map, but I'm actually going to use this one, because where I want to go to actually is, believe it or not, this here, Hampstead Heath. That's where I'm heading. It says it's a 15-minute walk to there. That is, that's 8 minutes for a hospital porter, or ex-hospital porter, so let's just go there. Now, some of you might remember, regular viewers might find this a bit familiar, because just down here is Lawn Road, where I did my little video Spies of London, and it is the site of the Icican Flats, a very, very avant-garde piece of 1920s architecture, which is also the home, is headquarters for many secret agents and things like that, which is very interesting. Alright, so I'm going to head here now to Hampstead Heath. This is like a Roman-style bar, attached rooftop bar here with these statues here. Big tall guy here. Huge, isn't he? And there's this lady, the Venus de Milo. Yeah. Oh yeah, the MGTOWs and that, they often say that women are very, very dangerous and we should avoid them. I don't think women are dangerous, personally. I think they're completely harmless. This is the Royal Free Hospital here. I'm tempted to go in and visit my extremely proud and dignified brother and sister porters, but I don't really have time today, so I'll have to salute them from a distance. Pride and dignity. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Hampstead Heath. This is a very large park in North London. It's the biggest of the London parks and one of the oldest. It goes back centuries. It's actually very hilly here. Now, we're not actually heading directly to it, but if you ever used to listen to Shamanic Freedom Radio, Niall Murphy's old show, he used to do these roamcasts. And one of the places he used to roamcast was that he wanted to do the 3 peaks of London, Hilly Fields, which I've been to as well, if you remember my London Stones video, Parliament Hill, and another one, I can't remember what the other one was, I think Alexandra Palace or something. But this is one of the highest points in London. And if you go up to Parliament Hill, you actually get a really, really good view over the entire city. We're not actually heading there today though. That's not actually the location I want to go to. It's busy today. This is a Sunday afternoon, so you get a lot of people walking and strolling. Many joggers and dog walkers have passed me, but hopefully we'll have a slightly uninterrupted session for what I want to do. It's got a lovely atmosphere here actually. It's not manicured like so many London's areas. There's a lot of wild vegetation, wilderness areas, things like that, and it's now late March and the leaves still haven't come out on the trees, but you can see the buds there. It's nice. By the way, Colin Wilson, Colin Wilson, as you know, is a famous woo-woo, but he was also a hospital porter. Yeah, he's a brother porter. I mentioned him in my St Theo's videos. He actually slept rough out here somewhere many years ago, and he died. He died about 20 years ago or so. But when he was young, he used to sleep rough here to save on rent and things like that when he was writing his first book. Yeah. I mean, there's things like if he was a HP, then the place to sleep is like in the bed store. I mean, I used to sometimes sleep overnight illicitly in the hospital. I was never at staff accommodation, but I used to grab some sheets and go to the bed store and sleep on a mattress. If I was late and I was on the early shift the next day, there's no point really going home. Okay, so just going to walk and make my way down here. It's getting a bit Paul Lydian actually when I'm on my own, so don't want to go missing 411, but there's still plenty of people around, so I'm not expecting any trouble. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this, believe it or not, is our destination. This is what I've travelled here to see. We'll get a closer look at it in a minute. The wind seems to have died down, which is nice. This is actually a barrow it's known as the Hampstead Heath tumulus, but it has other names as well, such as the Bay Barrow and several other names as well. Now, the reason I've come here today is it's very often known as Boudica's grave, or Boudica's barrow, or Boudica's mound, because it is actually a ancient burial mound, a tumulus, as it says. It is a tumulus, and the legend had is that Queen Boudica, after her defeat at the hands of the Roman legions, actually was laid to rest at this location. So it could be that we're visiting Boudica's grave. So I'll take my hat off. Although, come to think of it, this is actually not Boudica's grave. But I came here just in case, just in case. But it's this beautiful barrow with amazing views here over the hills here. This is Parliament Hill here in London, and we'll go and have a look. Apparently, it seems like you can get into it. I didn't know you could. I thought the fence went all the way around, and you couldn't get into it. As you see, all the benches all the way around, so people can enjoy the view. We're just going to walk around it clockwise, like the Buddhists do in their temples, and have a closer look at it. Looks like some people in costume up there doing something. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe it's a ritual or something. But yeah, just have a walk around here. There are some people in some kind of costume. Maybe they're local hippies or like neo-pagans or something. Maybe, I don't know if you can actually get in there or not. I won't disturb them if they're actually doing something. But yeah, there is actually a gate here. Appears to be, well, they must have got in. Don't know how they got in because that's locked. Maybe they have special permission to go in. But as you see, it's a wild area. There's lots of trees and bushes. Here, lots of these little circle of pines, clearly been planted. It's like a cultivation. There's a piece of wild land here. And you just come around here, you get a look at some of the views. I need to say a big thank you actually to a viewer who told me about this. I'd never heard of this place until like a few days ago, when a viewer actually informed me of it. And so I thought, well, if I've got nothing else to do this weekend, because I've got some couple of days off, I'll come here. I'll come to Boudica's Mound and just see if it actually is what it appears to be. Now, those people must have got in They must have some special permission or special access, because there's no actual gate, and it says quite clearly you're not supposed to go in here. What is it? It is some kind of some kind of neo-pagan ritual they're doing, I think. There's a lady there with dreadlocks in like an ancient old-fashioned dress. Or maybe they're doing some kind of, maybe it's a photo shoot, or they're filming something, I don't know. But there's another woman there in another different dress. It is some kind of like, yeah, it's some kind of ritual. Neo-druids, perhaps. The druids, of course, were the Celtic keepers of wisdom, the shamanic teachers. It's the indigenous shamanic religion of this nation and the Celtic world. Yeah. So we've nearly done a full circle of this particular location now. Clearly you can't actually get in there. Those people must have had a key to the gate or something. What's this? Hampstead Heath, please take your dog waste home. Waste. I love the way they say waste. Of course we know other words for it, don't we? But we don't say that polite. Just like, hey, here's you get the view over the city from here. See, so this must have been. This could be why this was chosen by the ancient people as a burial site, because it is a place of. Obviously, this was before the city of London actually existed, so this would have been all open fields and forests. It would have been an area of natural, and it would be a natural wilderness view in those days. I'll have a sit down. Let's have a sit down. There's an empty bench I can use. Oh, no. There's a lot of mystery associated with this behind it. I mean, it only appears, it was never mentioned until William Stukeley made a note of it in 1725. Before then, it's absent from all history. Based on its size, shape and position and other things, archaeologists do believe it is a very ancient burial mound. And so it is actually, so someone may well be buried here. Maybe more than one person was buried here. Very often these ancient burial mounds actually predate the Celts. They predate the Celts, they're much older. Many of them, they would have had like entire families or even entire communities buried underneath this mound of earth. Now, I'm really... It's really amazing to come here, actually. It's really amazing. So thank you very much to the person who told me about this. You know who you are. You can own up in the chat box. If you can own up in the comment section if you want. But I personally don't believe Queen Boudica is buried here for several reasons. Firstly, it's too old. The wind's getting up again. I'll speak up. It's too old. It is dates back to about 1000 BC. There have been signs of like burnings here, so they found charcoal and burnt wood. There are remains of burnt wood. No bodies, but it could have been the bodies, because the soil is very acidic. It's possible the bodies would not have lasted very long. Even the bones wouldn't have lasted this long, 3,000 years. But if it is from about 1000 BC, then it's a good millennium before Queen Boudica. Boudica would have been born roughly in the early in the 1st century AD. She'd have been born roughly about AD 20 to 25 to 30. AD 25 to 30 is estimated. The wind's got up. Now I want to talk. The wind's got up. So I'm going to keep my voice up so you can hear me. Or wait till the wind dies down a bit, which hopefully it will. But there's another reason why I doubt that this is Boudica's grave, and that is because it's in London. At the time, this would have been just outside Roman London. Now, the Battle of Watling Street took place somewhere in the West Midlands, and I mean, perhaps I'll go and visit that area. I did visit King's Norton, which is said to be the site of the last battle. Which, if you remember, Boudica, my queen, is one of my first Boudica videos I made. Which you remember, that's why I lay flowers on what I believe is her grave, because I do believe that's the most likely place she fell. Now, and there is actually some signs of battle that has been found. Funnily enough, it was found when they were building a new McDonald's, so maybe we'll go and have a look at that and a Big Mac at the same time at some point. So when I find out what that is, we'll perhaps take a trip there, maybe in a couple of months. But you see, after the Boudica rebellion, Boudica's armies basically destroyed all of Roman London. They levelled it. But everything that wasn't like stone was just burned to the ground. And then she headed northwest out of the city to tackle the 2 remaining legions that hadn't already been killed. They were on their way back from Anglesey, having put down the Druids on the sacred island of Anglesey, because of course we know the Illuminati love to destroy sacred things. So they went to destroy the sacred grove, cut down the ancient oaks on Anglesey. And so we can guess they probably met halfway, which would have been in the West Midlands. And so that was on the Roman road of Watling Street. It's likely that that's where the battle took place. And indeed, there's some archaeological evidence, as I said, it's been discovered while they were building a new McDonald's a few years ago. But there was a meme in the newspapers about it with like the Queen on her chariot, going through a drive-through and ordering a burger. But that's when it would have happened. Now, after that battle, after the defeat, what would the survivors have done? Well, one thing they wouldn't have turned around and headed back to London, because there were reinforcements arriving across the Channel. London was basically the Roman capital. I say it's the principal Roman port, and the Romans were in control of it by then. Now, you could say, well, another theory is she's buried in Norfolk, which is the Iceni lands. Now, again, I doubt that for the same reason. The first thing the Romans would have done, and did do after defeating Boudica and putting down the rebellion at Watling Street, would have headed to the Iceni lands, and they would have wreaked the most terrible revenge on the people there, the survivors, the people there. Any survivors from that battle, the last thing they would want to do is go home. I mean, they would have brought their wives and children with them, as Amanda Scott said. This was a family war. They would have brought their wives and children with them to the battle, not to take part, but to watch. Indeed, Tacitus actually mentions that they did this. That they actually there were lines. When they towed the wagons in a row to trap the Romans inside, their families were there all watching. Now, what the survivors of that battle would have had to do is head north. They'd have had to head north and west, maybe into unoccupied areas of Wales or into the North Country, what's now Lancashire, Yorkshire, the Pennines area, because that had not been conquered. It was ruled by a tribe called the Brigantes, who were sympathetic and indeed had sent some of their people to take part in the revolt themselves. In those days, we've got to remember this is AD 60, this is not long after the conquest, which was AD 40s. In 20 years, all the Romans managed to succeed in doing in those early times was basically taking control of what's like the southeast of England, basically. That was really all they managed to. East Anglia and the southeast was all they managed to control. They would eventually conquer all of Britain up to Hadrian's Wall, as you know, because we've been to that wall. This amazing structure right across Cumbria and Northumberland, but that would take them like about 2.5 centuries to reach it. So the survivors of the Battle of Watling Street would have had to go north. They'd have had to flee to the north, taking their dead with them. It's unlikely actually Boudica got a grand, elaborate funeral befitting her position as a queen. She'd have had a much simpler burial, possibly without any of the usual frivolities and frills which would befit someone in her position. You know, the royalty in the Celtic world, they were buried in golden chariots and things like that. They wouldn't have been able to do that with Boudica. She'd have had to have a simple ceremony and buried probably in an unmarked grave, so we may never find her. But it wasn't here. It was not here, for the reasons I've explained. This was at least 1,000 years older, when this was in use, and it was in Roman controlled territory which she wouldn't have been able to return to. She would not have been able to return to her homeland ever if she survived the battle, or if she died, and I think she probably did die. And according to Tacitus, she poisoned herself, so Tacitus said she died. More likely she went down fighting, like I'd explained in the Boudica My Queen video. But have they finished now? I think they've finished now. I suspect that we may never find out where she actually is. She's not actually buried here, but it's great to come here and see it. I thought I'd come here just in case, because on the very far out possibility that somehow she was, I'd be able to feel it. I get a sense of the energy of this location. I don't get that sense of energy. However, there is one more place we need to visit here in London today, and it is another legendary burial spot of Queen Boudica. So if you care to accompany me, we shall proceed there. I've just come into this little wooded area on Hampstead Heath, just to have a look around. Now, apparently this is a bit dodgy at night time. You've got to watch out where you're going. It's a quite a famous dogging area. If you don't know what dogging is, then I'm afraid I can't help you in your terminal naivety, but basically this Hampstead Heath is a bit of a notorious dogging area. But here in daylight, people generally don't get up to things like that. But I just thought I'd have a look around in one of these little footpathy areas. It looks like there's been some people setting up camps and things here. Probably the doggers, but not Colin. So I was wondering where Colin Wilson actually slept. Obviously, Hampstead Heath is huge. It's over 790 acres. So God knows where he slept. It probably wasn't the same. It probably wasn't the same place every night, because he had like a sleeping bag. He used to have a sleeping bag with him. He didn't have a proper tent. He'd have had to find somewhere to shelter when it rained, things like that. And he would have. I mean, this was a long time ago. This would have been sometime in the 50s when he was young. And he was an aspiring writer. He hadn't published his first book yet. But I do wonder where he might have been, where he might have slept. It's interesting. It's interesting to imagine my brother Porter, and great thinker, hanging out just lying here under the stars. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have been quite too bad in summer, actually, but in winter it would have been a bit of a nightmare, I expect. I've just remembered something. I mean, for those of you who might be thinking that Colin Wilson was a dogger, he wasn't. I mean, it's funny thing about that, because he does. There is like if you look at his official record and criminal record and stuff like that, you know, he was actually originally in the Royal Air Force, but he was discharged for being homosexual. Now the thing is, he feigned homosexuality, and how you do that, I don't know. How they can tell or not, but he may have just said he's gay and maybe been a bit flirty with one of the guys. But he was putting it on because he wanted to get out as quickly as possible. And to get general honourable discharge usually takes a long time from the military. So, but the quickest way, if you're in the military and you want to get out, the quickest way is to do something bad. So they have to kick you out. They have to sack you. Dishonourable discharge, which is kind of what he got, or whatever they call it in the RAF. It's a discharge, sure, in the Royal Navy, I know that much, if you're for things like that, but this would be something different, I don't know, so maybe something probably not as bad as dishonourable, but you'd have been kicked out for sure. Anyway, we're coming near the gate now, and I've got something else I want to show you in a moment. Something, funnily enough, I didn't notice on my way in. It seems an unremarkable London townhouse, this one, but it says there quite clearly, George Orwell, the writer, 1903 to 1950, lived here. Those dates are not the dates he lived here, those are the dates of his life, that's his birth and death. Erected by the Hampstead Plaque Fund, there we go, how about that? I wonder when that would have been. It wouldn't, I know it had to have been before 1948, because in 1948 he moved to Jura, a little island off the coast of Scotland, to write 1984. So it would have to have been before then. So maybe it was just before then, or maybe a long time before then, I don't know. But sometime before 1948. I wonder which was his bedroom. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Here it is in Parliament Hill. Just literally on the edge of Hampstead Heath he lived. It made him seem quite nice. Do you think that was his bedroom now? Do you think he looked out of that window onto this landscape you see before you? Do you think this tree was there in those days? Probably, been a bit smaller, but it was still in there. Amazing. The prophet of our time. The conscience of the nation and the world. And he was right here. Ah, God, so there you go. George Orwell's house. Well, welcome to King's Cross Station here in London. You may have seen this before. I've been here a couple of times, I think. Like when I went to Mablethorpe, if you remember that particular video. Now, the reason I'm here is because there is another legend about Queen Boudica, that she's buried under platforms 9 or 10 here in King's Cross Station. Now, the source of this particular rumour is a little bit nebulous, but I'll try and find the true location of it. But obviously, seeing as there were no railways, the railways weren't even invented until the mid-19th century. Obviously, this was long before the station was actually here. So you could have, it'd be more accurate to say the station was built on top of Boudica's grave. However, in my view, as I said earlier, I think it's unlikely she was buried, if she had a proper funeral at all, anywhere in the vicinity of London. But anyway, I'm here anyway, here at platforms 9 and 10, King's Cross Station, just to show you exactly where that legend is. Alright guys, I'm back in Oxford. It started raining a little bit now. It's turned bitterly cold. It's very, very unseasonably cold in the last few days. Okay, I found out a little bit more about the King's Cross myth. It's actually this guy called John Bagford brought it up because he found the skeleton of an elephant buried there when they were creating the station. When they were building the foundations of the station, they found a flint spear and an elephant. Well, there's two anachronisms. Firstly, elephants don't live in this country, and secondly, flint is a Neolithic implement from many millennia before the time of Boudica. But he somehow got this idea that this was a part of the battle and that Boudica was actually there. The elephant was been brought by the Romans apparently to help fight. Something they learned off Hannibal and the Carthaginians in the Battle of Carthage. The thing about it is, though, I think that the problem with that is that it's firstly is the anachronisms with the flint spear. Secondly, that the elephant is probably a circus animal that had been abandoned. But he was actually convinced this had something to do with Boudica, especially because of the nearby road nearby is called Battlebridge Street. So that he thought, well, there you go, that's all the evidence you need. But because there's no evidence for that, I mean, funnily enough, platform 9 of King's Cross is also famous from the Harry Potter story, because, of course, in the parallel universe, the Harry Potter universe, it's platform 9 3/4. But the thing is, J.K. Rowling, who actually is Scottish and comes from Edinburgh, she chose that because that's the station, that's the platform she always used to get on when she was getting the train back home from London. So that's your answer there. So I'm afraid we're no closer to any truth, really, no closer to Boudica's burial. It's been a nice trip, though. It's been interesting to see that mound. I thought I'd go there just in case it somehow spoke to me and said, yes, she was here, she is here, you know. Certainly there was some burning there, or some cremation or something there, because they found charcoal, so maybe it was, who knows. Anyway, yeah, that was it. Anyway, what's coming up next? Well, preview of forthcoming attractions. You may be aware that on Wednesday, possibly Artemis 2 is going to launch, so we have another supposed rocket to the moon, maybe the first one ever. And I'll be covering that in detail, probably with a live stream. But it may not actually launch that day. We're not sure. But anyway, for Boudica, my queen, my only queen, I'm glad I went there. Wherever you are, Boudica, you are my queen. That Anunnaki reptilian thing in Buckingham Palace is no king of mine or anyone's. So thank you for watching Panwo TV. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.